Hey everybody, Jeff Sutherlin and Courtney Twiss here, Broker Rehab. I got one of my best buddies, Courtney Twiss. Say hi, Courtney.
Hi, Jeff, or should I say twin, since we are totally twinning today with our little beige sweaters.
Yeah, I wrote her a memo today. Courtney, I'm wearing a beige sweater.
We literally look like we're wearing the exact same outfit. That is so funny.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Well, we're excited today. We got something really cool to talk about. We want to talk about who do you focus on and how do you focus on the people in your brokerage, like the different percentages of people. I'm going to throw out some ideas. Courtney's going to come right behind me with like throwing down some like wisdom bombs, like numbers and data to validate kind of what we're saying. So don't you think, Courtney, it's pretty important to know who's in your brokerage and how you might want to communicate differently with different people?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You and I have discussed DISC and utilizing the DISC as far as when you're talking about communication and how to communicate the right way, because everyone has different styles. And that's a tool that both you and I used in our brokerages that was very helpful for that.
Yep. And speaking of DISC, if you ever want to have one done, Courtney and I have access to the DISC assessment. We have that with our brokerage, which is so cool. So if you ever want to like have us validate your DISC instrument, we would love to do that with you, right? We'd love to give you that time to understand, because when you know thyself, you tend to connect with other people better. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the way I used it, and I want to hear Courtney's version of this. When I hire people in real estate, even to this day, when I hire people at EXP, I like to give them a DISC assessment because that tells us their behavioral profile, how they behave. And there's 4 categories: DISC. D is a measurement of dominance and speed and task. I is a measurement of social ability, extroversion versus introversion. S is a measurement of stability, steadiness. C is a measurement of compliance. And so when you look at those 4 things, generally, I'm going to make a general statement here. People that are typically a D or an I or both of those have a better propensity of success in real estate. The S's and C's are more administrative. They struggle sometimes in the lead generation area and the marketing area. So I always like to try to hire people that were D's and I's. But with that being said, if you have nothing but D's and I's, you'll have a little lack of diversity in the way people think in the workplace. So S's and C's can succeed. It's just they're wired differently. And I did try to target and really bring in, especially people that had D's and I's. So what are your thoughts, Courtney?
So with our brokerage, we also put everyone through the DISC assessment. It was something that I took away from the Entre Leadership program with Dave Ramsey. My husband and I both did executive coaching through them and have been to many of their conferences. And Ramsey Solutions uses the DISC, and they literally put it when you go walk around their office, you see it on everybody's desk. And so I mirrored them and did the same thing. And my husband still to this day does it with his construction company. We have on the wall everybody's DISC assessments and personalities. That way, when you walk up to someone, oh, okay, hey, they're a high C. They're going to want a lot of details and they're going to want to understand this. They don't want necessarily the bullet points. They want the why behind the bullet points. And you know that when you walk up to them. As far as like having all D's and I's, I'm a high DI. My husband's a high DI as well, like all the way to the top. And I'll rotate between being more D or more I, depending on what I have going on in my life, how cheerleader I need to be, or how focused and driven I need to be. But I will say that if you do have everyone be the same, like you talked about, you're going to have a lot of blind spots that are not filled. And being a broker, you need to be detail oriented, or at least outsource it, because I'm not detail oriented. I don't know about you. So I needed to find some people, and so I found some of it through managers that could help me fill those roles and those blind spots. And so I actually looked to try to have a lot more diversity than I did in the early days, and kind of we had it on a chart where everybody fell into each of those categories.
Wow. So you're bringing a lot of value here. First of all, you and your husband are both DIs. This is crazy. So my wife is a DI as well. So when we get into arguments, we get our money's worth. I don't know about you guys.
Okay, so you should speak to some of the people who have worked with us. It's really funny because we shared an office for a long time before I ended up opening a different one. And I was just taking over and just hiring all these realtors, and we were just taking over the whole office. And we were going to blows sometimes, but it was over as quickly as it started. Neither one of us like hold grudges, but yes, we are very passionate about uh, our viewpoints, I guess you could say, or who's right or wrong on some of our arguments.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, this is so funny. So, there's two types of Ds, in my opinion. The high D person, there's an evolved D, and then there's an unevolved D. And I think the unevolved D is very, very quick to anger because that is actually, believe it or not, the first emotion of a D that comes out under stress is anger. So if you have a D in your life and you think they're mad at you, they're really not. They're just mad at the situation. And that's just kind of how they process information. Have you experienced that, Courtney?
I would say, yeah, I think because my husband and I have both done so much coaching over the years, we're, thank goodness, a little bit more self aware now at this stage in our lives. And so we can kind of recognize, not to say that that always happens, but I feel like coaching is almost like having a therapist sometimes. It's not always just about your business, sometimes your marriage or your personal comes into it. And I think that's helped us to mature from where we were when we were young, new entrepreneurs growing our businesses. We've really have come a long way so we can kind of get ahead of some of those emotions that you're talking about and recognize that, oh, it's not him I'm mad at. I'm just mad that this is not going our way right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's what I'll guarantee you guys if you're listening to this. If you have never done a disc assessment and if you reach out to me or Courtney, we can have it done for you for free. We'll sit down with you and we'll go over the whole profile with you. And because of that, you will literally sell more homes. I guarantee it. Because when you learn how to respond to human behavior, then you understand how to mirror, you understand how to match. You can even see people's breathing patterns and how they're receiving information. When I walk into a house and I meet, let's say, a husband and a wife, I'm already looking for, is this person a D or an I or an S or a C? I'm going to communicate differently to those people separately based on how they come across. And so you get really good at identifying human behavior. And it is one of the biggest skills you can have in sales.
Oh, for sure. And what are you? What's your?
So I'm kind of like you, Courtney. Surprise, surprise, right? So I'm 99% D and I'm a 99% I. I'm basically a freak of nature.
Well, I've seen you on the dance floor, so the eye does not like surprise me whatsoever with your what is it? The snake or no, the
The worm.
worm. The
That's right.
worm. This guy goes out on the dance floor and everybody better watch out because he's out there doing the worm. It is wild. Wild.
I've been outed. Okay.
Yeah, I bet you didn't know that about Jeff Sutherland.
Yeah, no, no, appreciate it. Appreciate it, Courtney. First time turned red in a while. Okay. So, all right. So DIs, SCs, we can have a whole class on that. We probably will down the road, but that's something you can use. And not just when you hire them, but as you keep coaching them, you need to keep going back to that and reminding them of how they think and validating their behavior. And so once they're on board, right? If you look at, the whole continuum, this is kind of how I always thought of it. You got 20%, your top 20% that produce the top 80% of production, maybe even 90%, right? So you're going to treat them a little bit differently than your bottom 20%. Your top 20%, I believe you need to have a personal relationship with them. You need to know them. You need to be in an ongoing consulting, coaching conversation with them. And you need to know what's going on in their life because they are the influencers, right?
And
So
yet that often, I mean, it seems like they'll often be ignored because they don't need as much of your attention. They're out there selling homes, right? And they're busy and they know how to hustle and they know how to do their lead gen. So they don't always come to you for things. So I feel like it often as a broker, you end up inadvertently neglecting the people that you actually need to love on the most.
totally, yeah, because that's right, Courtney. You get sucked in by all the little problems, by the energy suckers, which are in usually the bottom 20%.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. So you got your top 20%, we think that you should be in relationship with them. Now, what about the 60% in the middle? That's where there's a lot of opportunity, right? To take some of those 60% and move them up, move the needle up into the top 20. And I kind of always visualized within that 60, there's about 20% within the 60 that's the up and comers. And
Right.
how are you treating them differently than the rest of the pack?
Mhm. Yeah, I think you have to look at them and assess, like, are they coachable? Are their questions getting better and stronger, right? Are you having to chase them down? Or are they coming to you for growth opportunities? I think those are sometimes like qualities that I looked for in my brokerage as a sign of, oh, these are the ones I want to pay attention to. They're going to do something this next 3 years. Watch out.
Yeah. You know what I made the mistake of a lot, Courtney? Because I'm such a high I would be emotionally attached to people and I would really like them and I'd want them to succeed. And I'd just continue to I would go past the 50% mark, right? You're supposed to meet people halfway. I don't believe you should go past 50%. I think at this point in my career, you need to stop at 50% and they need to meet you halfway. But it's like I would continue to go back to them in the hopes that things would change. And I would neglect the people over there that were crushing it. And I should have been looking at more of the numbers to say, that person over there, I need to pay attention to that person a little bit more.
Yeah, actually, I have some stats on this. I'm going to throw some numbers out to you because I did the same thing. I think any of us, especially being a broker in a small town, I know everybody. I'm friends with a lot of the people that I brought on. Here's the real costs of some wrong hires, right? So where you're plugging in, you're spending all your time on the wrong people. So hard costs, onboarding, tech training on average, and this is a very conservative figure, is 6,500 to 15,500 a year. That's a lot. You don't always realize that. Opportunity costs, which this is the number one biggie that is underestimated, in my opinion, 2 to 3 hours a week of leadership time. So, our time or our manager's times, if you calculate, I would say most brokers' rates are probably $150 to $300 an hour, depending on where you're at in your career. So, that's $7,800 to $23,400 of opportunity costs in 6 months by focusing on the wrong people. Culture. So what's the impact of these people? What are they having on the culture of your company? Well, one disengaged person can reduce team productivity by 20 to 30%,
Mm,
which could cause you to lose a top producer, which is 20, 50,000 annually to your margin.
wow.
Those are pretty big numbers. Well, they're saying a wrong hire is around 30 to 60,000 a year.
Man, that's big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty big.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. That's very interesting. So we identify up and comers, and then we identify the other part of the 60% in the bell curve. And one thing we would recommend is create systems and leverage around helping bring all these people forward, right? So, and there's a lot of ways you can do that. You can do that in group coaching. You can do that by having somebody like Courtney or myself coach your people, outsource it, right? I mean, if somebody wants to grow and they want to get into a coaching with Courtney, let's say, and they're willing to be in a group, we can charge a pretty nominal fee to get them to want to get to really improve their business with a group of other people. There's so many different ways. The key is systems and leverage. You can't do everything on your own, but you don't know who to focus on and how to do that until you know your numbers and you know your roster.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then you got that 60%, and then you identify the up and comers, and then you got your top 20. Now, what about the bottom 20? Courtney, how did you handle the bottom 20%?
I did not always handle it well. I will be honest with you, right? You learn. You learn as you go as a broker. Especially, independent broker. I didn't have someone telling me how to do it. And like I said earlier, I knew most of these realtors that came to work with me, at least in my main office, which is Mariposa, where I've lived for 20 years. So I often let way too much slide and kept people on for way too long when the reality is I needed to let them go. And I needed to let them go so that they could go thrive in a different setting where maybe they would do better. Maybe it just wasn't a fit for them or for me. but it's hard to do that. And you think it's a myth that you think, well, everyone's 1099. It's not really costing me money to have them here. That's not true. When you really break it down and you look at your numbers, it's not only just on what you're spending, but your time and your energy. There's value in that.
That's right. Your energy, and it also there's the cost of culture,
Right.
because what you do is you dumb down the culture of the company. And so I think a lot of us are guilty of this. We hold on to people and we hope that things are going to get better. We know deep down hope is not a good strategy. And so as I matured as a broker in my career, I'd bring people in every few months. They were doing zero. And I'd say, okay, what are we going to do? Do you want to do this as a career? First of all, do you want to do this? Yes, Jeff, I
Mhm.
want to do it. Okay. Then we're going to do a plan to get you out of these doldrums and see how it goes. And if it continues to struggle, I've actually invited people to be successful elsewhere in another industry, because I think that's integrity, Courtney. I mean, if you let somebody continue to fail for their family and you don't have the guts to talk to them about, hey, maybe this just isn't the right thing for you, I think that's just bad leadership.
I agree, and it's nothing personal. Like, our industry has a high turnover. We have 80 to 85% of realtors exit our industry within 5 years. And I think it's like 70 to 75% do 1 transaction or less, somehow less, a year. So, it's a tough market. The barriers to entry are low, so a lot of people get into it that shouldn't, but it doesn't mean that everyone's going to do well or is meant to be in this industry for a career.
Yeah. And then you got the other pressure of agent count. A lot of companies feel like you got to keep adding agents. Well, a lot of companies that are flat fee companies, they're totally okay with it because they're going to get paid X amount of money. It's kind of like a gym membership, right? They're going to get paid X amount of money every month, and they're hoping that that agent really doesn't bother the staff too much. It's not a huge deal, right? But for people that are operating as a smaller independent brokerage and your margins are really important, you can't afford to take on these projects of people that last forever and ever. You got to cut them loose or you got to build them up, one or the other.
Agreed. Agreed. And that kind of goes back to some of our other episodes on, knowing your numbers and knowing what you're earning off each of your agents. And I think a lot of brokers actually don't know that and they don't calculate it. And it's probably a lot less than you think it is of what you're getting, per agent. You need to know which ones should you keep, which ones should you let go.
Yeah. And you're right. It could be a brutal business. 70%. I heard this the other day, Courtney. 70% of agents last year in 2025 closed zero or one deal. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
then there's the 30% of us that are doing the lion's share of the work. So you got to go out and find the 30%, and then you got to keep them. And so the only way you do that is you got to be a great leader and you got to work on yourself, number one, and you got to have systems and leverage. You cannot do it by yourself or you will burn out. And that is one of the reasons, by the way, one of the many reasons why Courtney and I hang our licenses at eXp Realty, because we have all that leverage. I'm not going to spend a ton of time with the bottom 20%. I'm going to send them to other places to get training and let the platform support them versus spending my time with them. You get my drift, Courtney.
Right. Yeah, I think additionally, clarity. People want clarity. Top producers want clarity. They want to know exactly what they need to do to win and to succeed and to have a fruitful life, whether it's for their family, for themselves, whatever their motivation is, but it needs to be clear. And that is something I do like about EXP. Everything's very transparent as far as what you can earn, what programs are out there. There's tons and tons and tons of training for yourself as a leader and for your team. Like, our fast cap program is amazing, amazing. And we don't have to do it. We just say, here you go. Agents, go sign up for this boot camp. It's all free. We'll keep track of how you're doing. And it's like been so great to not have to come up with everything on our own.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when you were Andy Broker, it's like you had to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's
Yeah.
easy button.
And now Courtney and I are just the source of the source. We know where the good training is and we know where to send people and we know how to encourage people. But I love that. That's to me what leadership is about. We cannot be everything for everyone in this role.
No, and you shouldn't have to. And that's pretty weighty to feel, and there is that burden often as a broker to be able to be there for everyone in your group. And the reality is you can't. And you got to find who's your avatar. Who do you want to be there for? Who do you want in your brokerage? Who is on brand? Who should you pour into? Whose energy should you match? And I think again, that's back to clarity of what your vision is, what your core values are for your company, and who's going to want to come along on the ride with you in the same manner.
That's right. And one way you can get all this started is print out a what I call a top-down report. Print out everybody in your brokerage, right, from the number one agent to the bottom, and start putting clouds around people. Start really thinking about, okay, what do I need to do for this group of people and this group of people, right? And when you start looking at your roster on a regular basis, you get very clear. And then you start looking at your P&L on a regular basis. You get very clear on, are you running a profitable business? You're in business to make profit. So, we're not daycare. We're here to make profit. And so this is just another area where Courtney and I can come alongside of you. If you reach out to us, you can show us in a safe environment what's going on with your books, with your roster, and we can give you ideas on how you can make it better. Right? I mean, this is what we've done for a long time, and we're passionate about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You should see my spreadsheet. I just love to plug numbers in. Break it all down. I'm a spreadsheet junkie. Just bring it on. Bring it on.
That's right. That's right. So we touched on a lot. We touched on disc, touched on the top 20, the middle 60%, the up and comers, the bottom feeders, I would call them. Sorry that hopefully it doesn't offend anybody. But I mean, the last thing I would just say on the bottom is you want to give everybody a chance. I believe that with all my heart, but success leaves clues, right? And if people continue to not produce, they're just not interested, and there's a reason, right? If they're doing their absolute best, there's a chance. The chances would be that they'd be producing. So you got to find out the real reason, And if the real reason is they're just not plugged in, they're not interested, give them give them a graceful exit, right? And then what will happen when you do that, by the way, the culture of your company will improve. People from outside, because I've done this, people from the outside will say, wow. Because how many brokers do you know, Courtney, that actually let go of people?
Very few. Very, if any, actually.
Yeah,
I don't know of any off the top of my head right at this moment.
right.
Yeah.
When,
Not common in our industry.
yeah. When I started a company in '09, we did not hire a part-time agent for 4 years. They had to be full-time. And when they got their broker's license, we actually gave them money to say, congratulations. People thought we were crazy because they're like, well, wouldn't that person leave your company and go be their own broker? And we looked at it like, if they're going to go be their own broker, then God bless them, right? We helped them in that journey. But because we embraced excellence and that was our minimum standard, they kept coming. They kept coming in, right? So the vibe and the message you're sending out there on who you're hiring, that gets out there, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yep. You want to lead leaders, hook leaders,
That's right. That's right. I think we're ready for broker rehab. Or
right?
broker, yeah, broker. What do we call it?
I think what you're talking about, Jeff, is our recharge room where we need to recharge our battery. I believe that is what you are referring to right now.
That's right. Sorry.
Yes, the recharge room. Let's give everybody something to stew on and help them bring up their energy for this next week.
That's good. That's good. It's the second time today I've turned red because the sweater, and now I forgot what we called it. So the recharge room. Yeah. So this is what's on my mind today, Courtney, about that. I think we have a lot of unhealthy people in real estate. Like,
I would agree. Yeah.
would you? Yeah.
I would.
Um, a lot of anxiety, a lot of bad eating, a lot of drinking too much because we go out and we network all the time, and a lot of people want us to drink. I think it's really important that you put a premium on your health. I'm getting to the age where I'm almost 56. I got a lot of brothers and sisters out there in their 50s that are dropping dead, unfortunately, or getting strokes and heart attacks. It's like I want to enjoy the rest of my life. So what are you doing to take care of your body, right? And so I just want to give some hints to you. Sleep's important. You know, Courtney's in excellent shape, so I want to hear what you have to say. Sleep well, drink a lot of water, right? I try to intermittent fast, so I don't eat a lot in the morning. That keeps my energy pretty high for most of the day. I realized I didn't go to the doctor for 2 years, so I went last week. I mean, you know, these little things matter, and you have to take care of your body and your mind and your soul because they're all connected. And if you do that, you're probably going to be a much better leader for your people.
I agree. And for me, it's been 3 years on my like true recent health journey, right? Because I've done a lot of that up and down yo-yos with the dieting, especially women having children. Makes it a little difficult sometimes, but 3 years, and I see a longevity doctor. I feel like that would be a big thing in your area in Arizona. It's quite the trend right now, and he's helped me with weight loss. I lost about 30 pounds that I've maintained for almost 3 years. This will be my third year this year. My hormones as female are back in line. And the only area that have struggled with, I have scoliosis. I'm limited on some of my physical activities. So I let that be my cop out. So this year I am doing yoga. I always walk, I walk regularly, doing yoga, trying some other workout classes. I'm on the bandwagon officially. And I plan to stay on it this year rather than falling off like some people do. Cause I agree with you. It's got to start with you, right?
Yeah.
It's your health too. It's like you're a walking business card too. I hate to say it, but let's be real. We're in sales. It makes a difference. You gotta look good. You gotta look like you're disciplined and you take care of yourself when you go to an appointment, in my opinion. And that might be the wrong thing to say, but it's the
No,
truth.
it's not. It's not. It's the truth. People have more credibility when they see people that take care of their bodies. It's just, it's true. Do you have any accountability around some of those? I mean, you did this for 3 years. Do you have any accountability involved? Is that your longevity coach?
He's not a coach. He's a doctor. He's a normal doctor as well, but he has a side of his business for the longevity. And it was a topic that was introduced to me through my Vistage group, which was a coaching group I was in. And we had multiple speakers come out and speak on it. And I just found it so intriguing. And I thought, well, if I can start this in my early 40s, I'll be kind of ahead of the game because a lot of people get into this when they get older and they're starting to not feel good. And, I guess my accountability would be that I go to my doctor every 6 months, which I was like you, not going to the doctor regularly. I also intermittent fast 5 days a week on average, but I'm not gonna beat myself up if my kids are out of school one day and I make pancakes and have them with right? Like, I'm a little loosey-goosey about it, but for the most part, it's been about 3 years of intermittent fasting, and I have found that that helps my energy dramatically, and I go to bed really early, and everybody makes fun of me. Unless I'm at a varsity sports game, which causes me to stay up later than I would like, I am in bed at, like, 8:30 at night, and I'm awake by, like, 5. So, just my happy spot.
Yeah, for definitely. So 8:30, 9:30 is when I go to bed. I thought that was early. You got me beat. Um, you know, one last thing on all this. This is so important. You know, we always tell our agents to get a coach, but how many of the you brokers out there actually have your own coaches? I mean, you need to have a coach for your business. You know, so I have a spiritual coach. That's my pastor. I've got a health coach. He's the guy I go to the gym with every day. You know, so I've got coaches everywhere in my life. The coaching company that I'm a part owner of called Growth Yard Coaching, which Courtney's going to be a part of very soon. We have a coach and he worked hand in hand with Tony Robbins. So the stuff that he's teaching us is mind blowing. So if you think it's an expense to have a coach to help you run your company, you have to reframe that. That is not an expense. That is an investment. And that could literally make or break your business.
I agree. I've had coaches since 2019
Yeah.
consistently, and I just think it's so important. So
Yeah.
important.
So we're totally behind you guys. We gave you some good, hopefully, nuggets today. Give us a shout. PM us. How do they get a hold of you, Courtney? Again?
All things Twiss on either Instagram or YouTube. And then, of course, Jeff, we've got the Jeff Sutherland show. This episode will drop on both of those platforms. And we would love to talk to you if you want to chat one on one. We're available. We'll literally give you our cell phone numbers. We're here. Just let us know because we know how it feels to run a brokerage and it can be lonely sometimes. And sometimes you just need to bounce ideas off of someone that you're not competing with.
Absolutely. We wish you guys the best this week. Go get them. We'll see you soon.
Bye.